Welcome, everyone, to Stay Curious. I'm your host, Mark Marquette, and we're so glad you've joined us today, Monday, August 25th, 2025. And we are broadcasting live from the Museum of the American Space Museum in downtown Titusville, our studio inside our museum, run by myself and Marty Winkle, my co producer, for over 5 years, bringing you content about space history, current events, astronaut birthdays, and the occasional interview with space workers and even astronauts. So, if you're new to the program, thank you for joining us, and please share, like, subscribe, and keep watching so you can stay curious with us today. We've done over 1,300 episodes, and today is a big potpourri of what's going on in space as well as what has happened in space, including our green screen here. The only views we have close up of the last planet of the solar system, Neptune, there's Neptune, taken by this spacecraft, Voyager 2, in 1989. Wow, that is like a long time ago. All right. And NASA has not done any more interplanetary probes to the outer solar system except for New Horizons that went all the way out to Pluto and is still trucking on through the Kuiper Belt. The rewards of these uncrewed, unmanned spacecraft have been unbelievable. This is our only way that we know what Neptune looks close up since 1989. So we're talking 35 years ago, 33 years ago, 89. And That's kind of a shame in a way of all the great science out there and all the rockets leaving Earth that not many of them are going past Saturn. We've had several go to Saturn and Jupiter, but they're all American, and no other country's been interested in the outer solar system. So we're going to talk about Uranus here in a little bit, and the famous flyby of Voyager 2. But we've got all kinds of rocket news to go. We've also got a memorabilia charity auction this Saturday, August 30th. Pre-bid now. Click that QR code, everybody, and you'll go right to the links to go to put your pre-bid in now. And we'll talk a little bit about that, particularly on Friday beforehand. We'll preview some of the lots, but over 360 lots. Our auction house, Bid Again Auctions, has done a great job assembling just from astronaut autographs to a pile of patches and decals and things like that. Got Neil Armstrong's boots that are on the moon but x-rayed before he left to check for any pins or needles in them. So very rich auction, and this is what keeps our cash flow going month to month, is the money that we get out of these auctions. Now we get a little percentage out of every sale, but those that we put in ourselves and consign, we get 100% of the profits, thanks to Chuck Jeffrey and his Bid Again auctions. And lots of things are consigned by people like Marty Winkle, who has some Kapton foil from Apollo 17 in there. And Marty gets the biggest cut of that when it's sold, and the auction house, Bid Again Auctions, and the museum gets the rest of it there. Yes, Marty, go ahead.
Yeah, Dave Stang is asking any update on the gift shop starting up in the museum.
Well, thank you, Dave. Our space shop will be open, I'd say no later than November, but we have not dragged our feet. We want to make it a very impactful and build it up right, because we're going to change some physical things in our gift shop where you've been inside, Dave. So we are poising ourselves that when we release this, we'll be able to sell you, Dave, things online very easily. So we've had committed over $6,000, and we will spend every dime on that on renovations in our gift shop or auxiliary things that we need for the outreach to sell things. So thanks a lot for asking that. Tom Usiak's on board there, I see. Cliff Watson's down in Australia, just days away from the first day of spring in Australia, and he's loving that. And there's Carlton Bailey, and I hadn't wished Carlton a happy birthday. We missed his birthday, believe it was Thursday, and I hadn't seen any social media from you because I haven't been looking at it. So happy birthday to you, CB. Many, many more. And RG Jubilee says she schedules her day around our show, and we appreciate that there, Rosalie, for your interest in staying curious with us day to day. After all, where else are you going to learn what you're going to learn today about who's in space, what vehicles are docked with the ISS, what important program was announced for a clandestine spying by our country on other countries. What program was that was announced? And we got 2 birthdays to talk about today, as well as the great planet Neptune. So let's kick it off with today at 7:05 a.m. SpaceX Dragon cargo Dragon docked to the forward port of the International Space Station's Harmony node, shown right there. The spacecraft carried 5, and you see CRS-33 Cargo Dragon, excuse me. Crew 11 Dragon is parked right on top of Harmony there. Then we've got the Soyuz MS-27 that took 3 astronauts up to space about 2 months ago. 2 cosmonauts and an astronaut to be exact. It's docked down there where you see the Zvezda and Zarya port with Destiny, not Destiny, that was Zarya, Unity. Unity's the American module, right? Where Progress 91, a cargo ship, and Soyuz MS-27 are docked. And then on top is Progress 92. That's where the major air leaks are occurring at the International Space Station that they have under control, though. Well, Crew 33, the 33rd cargo dragon to go up. And the first one, Marty's in the Gateway building at Kennedy Space Center. You've seen it many times. This was the 50th vehicle of SpaceX to dock at the International Space Station. 50 vehicles they've docked. That's 17 crewed dragons and 33 cargo dragons. Think about that. That's happened in our lifetime here very recently. So, of course, we all watched the cargo dragon launch at 2:45 a.m. Not me. I slept through it. But I did hear the return of that first stage woke me up, Marty, at about, let's see, it launched at 2:45, so that first stage was booming right about 2:55 a.m., about 9-10 minutes later. So this is who's parked at the International Space Station right now as we speak. It's flying overhead. There's an app for that you can catch it in the sky like you can. Usually there's 1 week in the evening and 1 week in the pre-dawn sky that you can see it wherever you live in America. Well, thank you, photographer Chris Marie, who has sent me several photos from the Starbase out in Texas. There is Starship number 10, referred to as the big booster, and the ship, as they now call it, they call the whole thing Starship 10 there. Planned to launch tonight after the scrub yesterday. Yes, Marty, you got another question?
We have 2 questions. One from RG Jubilee. Did you hear when we're going to launch the next attempt at Starship?
Yes, the next attempt at Starship is today around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All right. They stood down from the 10th flight of Starship to allow time to troubleshoot an issue with ground systems. Marty, you're a ground systems guy, so to speak, working on the launch processing systems. That could be anything, right, Marty? Did you hear anything in the news about it? It could be one of the computer terminals isn't working, so they've got armadillos ate through the cables going to something. Am I right, Marty?
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be ship off the coast, airplane flying overhead or nearby. It could be anything. We have a question from Dave Stange also. How many shuttles docked with the space station?
He's asking total number of shuttles that docked with the space station. I don't know, Dave. How you expect me to know that? That's a finite number, of course. So I'll bet you I don't see Steve Jokums. There's Steve on there. I'll bet Steve knows that, or there's Robert Law in Dundee, Scotland. Well, you know there was about 33 hard hat missions up to, and it was basically completed in 2009. So I'm going to say probably 38. I don't think 40 docked, but we'll look into that in our shuttles of the month, Dave. Thanks for bringing that up. You got 37, Marty, in your fact check?
Yeah.
37. I know it's 33 that we call the hard hat construction missions, and then that would make sense that they had 4 more after that ended. So, of course, the 3, 133, 134, 135. And so, but good. That's always good to love and talk about who's docked with the space station. When you see that artist rendering of it, it gives you a perspective of what's going on there. And the cupola is right there in the middle and the bottom. So Chris Marie, great shots that he took with a telephoto lens, and then he told me he's got 6 remote cameras set up, and they're ready to rock and roll today. I was all set, Marty, with my beverage and a snack, cooked back and had YouTube on the big TV to watch the launch of this thing, see what happens. As we all know, the past 3 haven't gotten past Bermuda, all right, and then 1 failed on the pad. It wasn't a pad, actually. It was a working area there. So SpaceX definitely needs a win, but this is their philosophy, Marty. And I watched yesterday. The countdown had an excellent. I watched the SpaceX countdown of it, and Marty, what they were talking about is that they want this rocket here to be maintenance free, low maintenance, like an airport. Okay, that this thing lands, you don't have to change the engines out, do a little inspection on some of the things, a few minor replacement of some critical parts that have to be replaced, and then launch it that same day. Okay, and this is what they want to bring to our Space Coast, 10 miles away from where I'm sitting. All right, and this is a week, this week and next week, where there's some public forums being offered for people to voice their opinion about bringing this behemoth of a rocket to Kennedy Space Center. They are building a pad for it, pad 34. What is it? Pad 37, Marty. That they 37, 34, of course, is the Apollo pad. 37 is where they Apollo 1 pad, and 7, of course, was launched from there. Anyway, there's a lot of unknowns. This is a very noisy rocket. Our museum is actually in the Old County Records Department, and we qualify for historic building and all this stuff. So we're concerned if we had damage here, it'd be damage in a historic building. But they're expecting windows to be broken and things like that around town by this rocket. When and if it goes off, and no doubt in my mind it'll probably go off here within the next 3 years. So good luck to you, Chris Marie. We'll be showing you those pictures tomorrow. 10 humans are orbiting the Earth right now. A total of 638 humans in all eternity, and 84 of those are women since 1961 in Yuri Gagarin. In case you're wondering, the most we've ever orbited humans in Earth at one time is 19. All right. Now you got 3 on the Chinese Tiangong space station and 7 on the International Space Station from 2 different spaceships up there. The Soyuz from Russia, and Johnny Kim is the American there, and Zena Cardman and Michael Fink are the other 2 Americans on there. And then you've got 3 Americans, 3 Russians, and 1 Japanese astronaut. So you got Russia, America, Japan, and China represented orbiting the Earth at this very moment. And it's going to stabilize, and it's going to be that way for another 3 months probably. Well, the Chinese are coming back and swapping that crew out at the end of October. Very interesting perspective of the space station that you don't often see. Okay, this is looking up. The assembly over here on the right is the Kibo modules of JAXA, and they've got a back porch, see, sticking off there, that they have a robotic arm that can move things around. They have an airlock so you can bring things in and set stuff out there. And so, very interesting perspective of our International Space Station coming up on 25 years of continuous occupation in November. So, if you're 24 years old or know a 24-year-old, they've not breathed a breath on Earth that somebody wasn't breathing a breath in a space station off Earth. Check back 2 years ago. All right, of a spacecraft called Chandrayaan, launched in July 2023, and it from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India, and it entered lunar orbit and landed. It's got an orbiter, and the lander landed on August 23rd, 2023, 2 years ago. We were mesmerized by another vehicle landing on the moon that was not America. All right. And this was the fourth country to land on the moon. After the Soviet Union, NASA, and
India.
I want to say Canada. When Canada. Who's the fourth country to land on the moon?
India.
Yeah, India. Yeah, right. Yeah, but Soviet Union, NASA. I want to say Israel landed on the moon, and then I'm sorry, China, Russia, America, China, and now India on the moon. The lander was just to land and spend 12 days on the moon. It had a little rover, about 14 days. It was didn't have heaters and stuff to keep it through the 14-day lunar night, but the orbiter's still working and is in a big orbit out there. But what I found interesting about researching the 2-year anniversary of this, Marty, and there's a little rover going down. And this is at the south pole of the moon, where the water is in ice. And this little lander has a laser retroreflector array on it. And this is acting as a location marker close to the lunar south pole. And NASA used their lunar reconnaissance orbiter, which has a little communication laser on it, and it hit this retroreflector on board the Vikram landers. What the India lander is called, Vikram. So this is interesting to know that now India has a fixed point on the moon that any country can bounce a laser off in orbit. You can't hit it from the Earth because it's at the pole and the angle's too acute. But any orbiter could do that and figure out exactly some of their bearings around the South Pole, where everybody wants to go, because that's where the party is with the water. And you got to have water to do all kinds of things, include keep humans alive, as well as fuel. So we're looking forward to more lunar missions. But something that I dug out of the news also today is that, where's my Chinese? Oh man, where's my other China stuff? I didn't spit that out. All right, I'm gonna go freewheeling here. My notes on the Chinese space station are still in the computer, and that's okay. Because here's the three India astronauts, all right? And this is their space station that they hope to launch by in 2026, all right? They're saying by fall of next year, they will orbit one of these gentlemen, all right? And this is the spaceship, Gangian. And I'm horrible in my dialect of pronunciations. Everybody knows that, so I'm not going to try to get too fancy with these names. I don't have my notes in front of me, so that's all right. We're going to, I got the important notes that count, but this is the India's crewed spaceship, okay, called Gangian. There's how it's spelled there, Gangian. And it has solar panels on it. You see it with the service module on it. There's the service module and the crew module. Okay. And the first manned mission is going to have this dummy on board. All right. And there is the rocket to launch it. It's got two huge solid rocket boosters on each side. And this is India, the most populous country in the world now, surpassing China. But it's got some Chinese looks to it here for sure. The way they built the rocket. This was a spaceship that they tested the re-entry heat shield at their launch pad. And later next year, maybe even late this year, they're going to do 3 test flights with this autonomous dummy in it to gauge the reaction to stresses and so forth on the human body. And after 3 test flights, they will put humans on it. So there'll be 2 pair of humans each time, and one of them has already flown. I wanted to show you here. I forgot Sukla, I believe is his name. On the far right, I think that's him. But this is the 4 astronauts in India. They call them Vayumanauts. There's another term that also they're using for them. But these Vayumanauts was the first, like Takyonauts are the Chinese, Vayumanauts the Indian. And this is, all 3 of these men will play large in the manned space flight for India. And one of them's already been on the Axiom 4 mission with Peggy Whitson. And he, of course, will be favored to do great things for his country there. So Jim McDade says he's volunteering to replace that dummy on there. Yep. And Steve Joachim says it sounds a bit optimistic to them having a space station and a crew up there so quick, but they say it'll all be in place by 2027. Another spacefaring nation, India, wanting to put humans orbiting Earth and who knows where else in their spaceship here called Gangian. So, all right, and that's some current event news there. That picture of the space station was released last week. Well, a happy birthday to 2 really cool astronauts. We've got Drew Feutzel is 60 years old, and Brew Archibald is 65, and we'll see a picture of him. There's Drew. He's the 3rd all-time spacewalker, and he might be rocking the Beatles' birthday song, as he's the lead vocalist and lead guitarist for the all-astronaut band MarQ. And he was born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, there, UCF brothers. But he grew up in Lake Orion, Michigan. So you Michiganders are going to say that he grew up well and got out of Pennsylvania, maybe. But he was influenced by Detroit, and he was a Purdue University graduate. He has 2 shuttle flights and an International Space Station Expedition 56 tour, accumulating 9 spacewalks and 225 days in space. And on STS-125, he performed 3 spacewalks in the final upgrade of the Hubble telescope in 2009. And so happy birthday to him. Love to have the band play here, MarQ Band, someday. And there's Lee Archibald. Lee Joseph Brew is his nickname, BRU. Archibald, a one-time shuttle pilot and commander. So he flew twice. He was born August 25th, 1960 in Oak Park, Illinois. And you Illinois watchers will know exactly where that is, growing up in Hillside. And Archibald, two hard hat missions were 21 months apart, 117 to the space station and 119. He has 27 days in space and a rare one-time pilot who got to command his second flight. And he has moved on and for years has been working with Sierra Space. Here's and the Dream Chaser. All right, the Dream Chaser itself still not flown, and it's been in development for about 10 years. How did he get his nickname Brew? Pronounced as brewing coffee, brew. Well, it's rooted in bad luck. He said, I had an unfortunate experience with a bomb rack unit called Brew on an F-111 jet. Unfortunate or not, the experience made a impression on someone, and that became his nickname, to nickname him after this bomb rack unit. So, happy birthday to both you guys, Drew Feutzel and Brew Archibald. All right, segue from birthdays to space history. And 60 years ago, this was the mission patch of the flight crew, a flight crew patch, very rare to see, of the Manned Orbiting Laboratory. President Lyndon Johnson announced approval for the Department of Defense's $1.5 billion Manned Orbiting Laboratory on this date in 1965. All right, and this is $15 billion in today's money. Here was an artist's rendering of it. The Gemini spacecraft was going to play big into this. It would have a hole cut in its heat shield where the astronauts would go into the MOLE, Manned Orbiting Laboratory. At an August 25th, 1965 White House news conference, President Johnson said MOLE, quote, would bring new knowledge about what man is able to do in space and will enable us to relate that ability to the defense of America. The Manned Orbiting Laboratory was basically two astronaut spies in space, and the hardware was being built and the astronaut crews selected when the program was officially canceled in 1969 without flying a mission. The Department of Defense determined that the advance of unmanned reconnaissance satellites and the technology to harvest the pictures from them was far superior than risking humans in orbit and that they wouldn't be needed. However, there were 17, count them, 17 MOLE astronauts were selected, and 7 of them transferred to the shuttle program and flew in space. Let's see, that would include this gentleman. Well, here's another image of the MOLE, concept of it. And Bob Crippen was one of the MOLE astronauts. There's Cripp with a blue spacesuit, an Air Force blue spacesuit. I've seen one of these at the Oklahoma Science Center in Oklahoma City. And this one could be that one. It was found in a locker out at Cape Canaveral, and someone opened up the locker and go, "What the hell is this?" Blue spacesuit, and had the MOLE logo on it and stuff like that. Astronauts you would know who started their astronaut training as a manned orbiting laboratory astronaut would be not only Bob Crippen, but Richard Truly, Carol Bobko, Gordon Fullerton, Henry Hartsfield, Don Peterson, and Robert Overmyer. And wow, of all those, Cripp is the only one alive, Marty. That's kind of creepy. Yep, they've all passed away there. This would have been an exciting program. Quite sophisticated was the thought put into it. Of course, the astronauts could bring back the film that had to be taken. There was no instant anything that you would think of today instantly. I don't even think they had the fax machine going. And if they did, it'd be top secret in 1965. But there's a cutaway of the manned orbiting laboratory as codenamed Dorian, as you see there. So, fascinating program canceled in 1969. As we were walking on the moon, they decided the money was too much and the risk too great, and manned orbiting laboratory. But what could have been, and here's a model of it that many of you may have built. What could have been, and I'm just thinking, it's very hard to look back and see how NASA abandoned two perfectly good spaceships, Gemini 2 and the Apollo command module. And why did they keep the command module around? That could be a great safety taxi to the International Space Station. The Russians still have their tried and true Soyuz spacecraft that flew for the first time successfully in 1969. Tragedy happened in 68 with the first flight and killed cosmonaut Komarov, but on reentry, by the way. But to keep one of these two spacecraft is something that we could quickly do. And like the Soyuz, it's been completely renovated through 3 generations of it or more. But I've never built the mole laboratory module there. I wonder what kind of goodies it has inside their living area in there on this model. So there you have it. What could have been another program that NASA spent millions and millions of dollars on that never happened. All right. Let's go to the solar system and my vest here. And, well, it's not awkward because Pluto's shown as a planet there. And I'm a forever Pluto planet guy. It was demoted to a dwarf planet because it has characteristics and is in a weird orbit like 5 or 6 other objects that act like a big ice ball instead of a planet. But we know Pluto from New Horizons passing by it 10 years ago showed Pluto to be a dynamic world, if not cold, but it is cold nitrogen that acts like a slush dessert that you might eat. So anyway, oh yeah, I see. What's awkward about that, Marty? Did you see something weird about that picture?
Earth is flat.
Huh? Yeah, the Earth is flat
Earth is
there.
flat.
Yep. So there you go. The Earth is flat and all the other planets aren't. Okay. We have a sense of humor here at the American Space Museum. There is Voyager 2 and the great picture that it took of Neptune with a big, not red spot, but black spot on it. The 4 worlds of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are gas giants. Neptune is it's 30,000 miles across. All right, that's almost 4 times the diameter of the Earth. And all these have lots of cloud cover and maybe a core in the middle, but we don't understand why these worlds are completely enshrouded in nitrogen, helium, methane, those type of things. And they have the winds on them that whip them around and create these features in the atmosphere of Uranus and Neptune, Jupiter and Saturn. The best pictures we could get from the Hubble telescope is on the left. And that's a picture that Voyager 2 took from a distance. They compare pretty good, okay. Not so much in definition, but Neptune being 2B with a billion miles away, all right, still is affected by the sun's cycle. And we'll show you that in a minute. We also, when Voyager 2 went by, it went by several of the moons, including the giant moon Titan, This is the best picture we have of Titan. It took us years to figure out what was going on here. Is it looks like a melon rind on part of the globe of this giant planet called Triton, and this is bigger than the Earth's moon, right? One of the bigger moons of the solar system. And the dark markings, Marty, at the bottom, see those dark? Those are ice volcanoes spewing as Voyager 2 was flying by in 1989. All those streaks you see at the bottom are active volcanism going on the moon Triton of Neptune, shown in the background there. And we've not been back close up to see what's going on, but what is coming up out of this moon and coming on the surface, you see that the surface has been replenished because you don't see craters on it. All right, that's a big deal. The absence of craters means that this surface is maybe 1,000,000 years old, which is very new in solar system geologic time, because every other object that's solid is just crushed with craters from interplanetary debris smacking into them. Not Triton, nary a crater on there, which tells us that this surface has been rejuvenated frequently. How frequently, we're not sure, but we need to send unmanned spacecraft there. Now, it took Voyager 2 from its launch in 1977 to passing by Neptune 12 years on this journey. And then it went out the solar system. So, celebrating the only close-up views of Neptune taken today, August 25th in 1989. Now here's a picture of the sun as it looked a few days ago with sunspots on it. The sun has an 11-year cycle from peak to peak of each active solar system, active sunspot activity. And sunspots are cooler areas caused by electromagnetic currents lifting up and touching each other on the surface of the sun of this nuclear reaction we call a star. And when this happens, like going on now, a lot of material spewed out from the sun into the solar system. We see that on Earth as aurora borealis or australis, the northern or southern lights. Well, on Jupiter, here had to give a picture of the International Space Station that somebody took passing by. And this is just a fraction of a second it takes for the station to go by the whole sun. And here it is captured in between two sunspot groups. Now you have sunspot groups like above my head that have an umbra, the dark area, and the penumbra, the outside area. And this is cooler areas than the 6,000 degree Fahrenheit surface of the sun. These are, and that's why they look dark or emitting less light. And then you've got like the Hawaiian Island chains type of sunspots that have an umbra and a penumbra but are clustered together. And these grow and disappear, and amateur astronomers have been watching solar activity from their backyard during this solar cycle that is very hot right now. The sun has heated up by a fraction of a degree and is throwing more solar material that's hot into the solar system. And this is why global warming doesn't account for the solar activity changing every 11 years in the models of climate change. And they need to, because the climate of the Earth is affected, of course, directly by the sun. Well, here's the activity over the last solar cycles, 2 solar cycle years, actually 3, the peak of this one. So we're in solar 2025, so 2014 was the last peak, all right, and then 2002 was the other peak, or valley, are 11 years apart. Why is this happening? We don't know, but look at how even getting 1% of the sunlight that the Earth gets from 2 billion miles away, Neptune's atmosphere gets more heated up and more activities going on as shown in these photographs here, of the matching the solar cycle with activity on Neptune. Beautiful shot of Neptune. This is the classic photo taken in all the books that you see, taken by Voyager 2 and all the books that you see, and a dynamic hurricane or cyclone going on, the black mark. You see the white clouds being sucked into it around there. We weren't there long enough to see how this dynamically changes. Hubble telescope is trying to do the best they can, and also the Webb telescope has joined the observations of our planets, as the Webb shows in infrared the heat signatures around it, and also 2 of its 5 or 6 loosely made rings that are prominent around Neptune. All the gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, have ring system. Only Saturn's is visible from Earth. And winding up today's show, looking at see who's talking. Jim McDade, great comment there about Mole. Yeah, free Pluto, everybody. I'm with y'all there. Still think I still consider it a planet, as it was discovered very interestingly by calculations, and though the calculations really didn't fit this planet. We've got Elena's watching. Thank you, Elena. Gary Gerald, WW420, Robert Law, Native Strong. Thank you for joining our social gathering here that many of you enjoy, and we appreciate it. Tom Usiak, birthday boy Carlton Bailey. His birthday was last week. Sorry we missed his CB. Tom Celentano, Cliff Watson, RG Jubilee, Dave Stangy, Dean Babcock, Steve Jokums. Thank you all for being such faithful watchers today on Stay Curious. I was doing that without notes on Voyager 2. Neptune has the coldest, minus 300 below F cloud top temperatures and fastest wind speeds, topping 3,000 miles an hour in the solar system. These ring system, the not the rings, but the cloud bands going around Neptune. It was discovered in 1846, so it's only been a planet in our eyes since 1846. And the sun at high noon on the big blue planet would seem like dim twilight to us. All right. So I was saying, it's 30,000 miles in diameter. Neptune's environment's not conducive to life as we know it. The temperatures, pressures are too extreme. But we don't know, in these clouds could be a sweet spot where like a blowfish would be elevated or something in there and could survive and live in there. We know what life looks like on Earth, but once we get finding life elsewhere, it's not gonna mimic Earth life. It's gonna be life all of its own. So looking back at Neptune and Marty, the moon is 2 days old today, buddy. So where's the moon going to be to talk like an amateur astronomer in the night sky? 2-day-old moon.
No idea.
Well, you see the 3-day-old moon, and on the right side is the evening sky, and on the left side is the morning sky, we should say. So the moon is going to be a thin sliver in the sky at 3 days old tomorrow. You might catch it tonight if you got good eyesight, like my friend Farrell Snyder here, looking at it through binoculars there in Boones Creek, Tennessee. All right, but a very thin crescent moon is what we're going to be looking at the next couple days. You're going to see the fingernail moon in the sky. And if it's 2 days old, 5 days from now on Friday or Saturday, it's going to be 7 days old, and first quarter moon And we just went through a great time to see the Milky Way. If you were out camping, I hope you looked up at the sky and saw the Milky Way and maybe a meteor or two if you're out long enough. But now the moon's going to start taking over the evening sky and washing out the Milky Way and all those faint fuzzy objects up there. So, and then you just might see a hint of the dark side of the moon that is not the backside, but the part that is in still night. And if you see it, that's called Earthshine, and that is actually light reflecting off of the Pacific Ocean and then bouncing back on the moon, illuminating its night area there. So we'll be looking forward to the moon dance this week, Marty. Looking forward to seeing the International Space Station. That, like I said, there's an app to alert you where planets are in the space station. Go check that out on your phone or your computer, and stand up there in awe as 7 human beings go overhead, as they do 17 times a day around the Earth. So, Marty, thank you for a good Streamlabs job there. We said hi to everybody, and we're going to. I see Tom Usiak's got the IMAX photographer confirmed for Shuttlefest. That's awesome. And we're going to have that. We're getting our June 19th, 20th, and 21st Shuttlefest lineup all together. There, Steve Jochum says excellent. We're going to have a good time at that as we're moving it from April to June for a lot of reasons. It's cheaper, but also people that work a lot in April, particularly a farmer like Gary Gerald. He's out getting those Vidalia onions out to market. So we'll be grateful that Gary can come to Shuttlefest in June next year. So thank you all for watching today. We've got a guest tomorrow scheduled, Eric Perlman, the astronomer from Florida Institute of Technology, and the black hole expert, scheduled to be here on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to have a great history lesson on Bumper 8, the first rocket launched from Cape Canaveral 75 years ago. That history lesson is going to come from Bob Granath. You all enjoy Bob's shows. And then Terry White is going to be on the show Thursday. And we're going to talk about the landing gear of the shuttle, particularly the nose landing gear of it. And and then Friday we'll hit hard the auction that is Saturday. Let me show show that. Please check out the auction. If you don't have money to buy something, you're going to get a rich education of space memorabilia. There's so many things on there. You're going to say, I didn't know they had that. I never thought of something like that going to space, or being a tool, or being publicity that was done. So you're going to enjoy the auction whether you buy something or not, but buying something helps support the American Space Museum. Go preview the lots now. Put your money down on how much you're willing to spend on one item, and Saturday the gavel falls at noon at our 39th virtual only charity auction. Marty, we enjoy that. I'll see you there. So I'll see you all tomorrow, bringing you some space news, hopefully an astronomer talking about anything you want to talk about up there in the cosmos. So look forward to that. Until tomorrow, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us.